me see. Hey, everybody. Carlton, you on mute.
I'm sorry. Happy Saturday, everybody. Happy Saturday.
Oh, my God. Welcome to the Watch Dawgs, everybody. Carlton and Chandra, we're sitting in for Julius and RG today. What's up, Carlton? You having issues with your back?
Carlton had a cramp in his neck real quick.
Child.
That didn't hurt. It's going away. I stretched wrong. I was stretching and I stretched wrong. Just
How's the weather in Savannah?
It's kind of cloudy today. It's not a bad temperature, considering the fact that the other day it was hot. Then it went back to cold yesterday, but we got fair weather today. Thank you, Lord.
Yeah. We got rodeo weather here in Houston. It's really beautiful. I've been wanting to put on my high leg boots and my hat. You know, I'm just waiting because 50 Cent, he had a concert last night, and then Bum B is bringing everybody to town this next Friday. So I have I had two tickets. So
I just discovered that they had a rodeo next year. I know. Now I'm putting a whole lot of events on my calendar now, so I can plan for stuff next. So I can plan for stuff next year. Better planning now that I know about a lot of these events.
Yeah.
Because if anybody know me, I like to be on the
go. Carlton, we have the biggest rodeo in the nation. We have the biggest rodeo, and because just a backstory, white people tend to feel like they created the cowboy because they made it they tried to make it fashionable, but Black people were the first cowboys, and we have a cowboy museum right here in Richmond where I live, talking about the first cowboys, because they used to call our men boys, and they used to tell our men, you know, boy, get that cow, boy, get that cow, you know. So then they referred to them as cowboys, you know. So black men were the first cowboys. And here in Houston, we have trail rides. There's generations and generations of cowboys, black cowboys. And when you look at TV and stuff like that, all you'll see, the majority of the cowboys are depicted as white people, but no, they were black, and they were from the West. So I had to come all the way over here to learn this Black history fact.
Well, thank you for sharing that Black history fact, because I'm pretty sure amongst me, I didn't know that, and a lot of people didn't know that.
Oh,
But
yeah.
we're gonna move into some of today's topics about some stuff that we want to know. One thing that I want to talk about, and I want to see how everybody else may feel about it. Yeah. Some people may not have heard about the Supreme Court decision about IVF in Alabama,
Oh, yeah.
which
Oh,
which
my
is,
God.
for most people who don't know, a couple they were trying to have a child, and they stored their embryos with this clinic. The clinic was located inside of a regular hospital. They went inside the hospital. One day, a random patient found his way into the freezer where they stored the embryos, and he decided to pick some up, and he dropped them. Well, the couple decided, of course, we all know that's a malpractice suit, this, that, and the third. But the one thing that they tried to sue for that they couldn't win was a wrongful death suit. And the court with the circuit court where they live denied it. So they took it all the way to the Supreme Court, and the Alabama Supreme Court decided that it was murder. They classified it as a wrongful death. So they're now classifying embryos as people, and so you can literally be charged with the death of an embryo if something happens during IVF. So the IVF clinics in Alabama have frozen their operations. People who are already in treatment, stuff like that, they can't get it. The doctors refuse because they don't want that type of malpractice. Now, I say that's crazy. I can't claim it on my taxes, so it's crazy.
Say it again, Carlton. Say it again, because and in point to what you're saying is that if it could not sustain life on its own, and that's the reason why I am against, I'm against them calling a embryo, a fetus, a child in the womb before 5 months, because a child, a embryo has I think it's like a 20 to 30% chance of life, if they are delivered at 4 months, and I just finished watching the Wendy Williams saga, and she had 2 babies at 5 months, and both of them died. So, and I know that, from having my own miscarriages, that if you are miscarrying in your first trimester or early in your second trimester, which starts at 4 months, the chances of a child actually being able to be born and survive the first year is minute. Yes, minute percentage.
I have a friend who's a NICU nurse, and we always talk about the fact of like the babies, the babies that are born, and like when they're born so prematurely, how expensive it, not only how expensive it is, but how much constant monitoring that they need in order to survive. Because while you was talking, I had to look it up. like I said, like the minimum amount for a child to survive outside the womb being born so early is like 5.5 weeks, almost 6 months old. So you got to think anything born before that, their lungs aren't developed, their lungs aren't even developed enough for them to survive all of that. I feel like that's a hardship more so on the child. And it's a
Yes.
traumatic experience to ever think about that. They won't ever remember it, but it's more traumatic on the parents, the fact of all the stress that they go through, all the wandering and all of that it's just crazy.
Yes. And when you do IVF, you put up, like people that are about to go through cancer treatment. Like I have I've had several friends that found out that they had cancer, and they had cancer very young, you know it was out of the ordinary, and so it was in their 20s, and before you can do so because they're women, and because chemotherapy usually destroys your ability to have a successful pregnancy, and that's why they ask women, they don't ask men, but they may ask you guys, but they ask women more so, are you pregnant, before they even give you a x-ray. Are you pregnant? Could you be pregnant? Because if they give you radiology or anything like that, that can destroy, or adversely affect a baby in your womb, or it could destroy uh, your ability to have children. So, before you start undergoing the treatment for chemotherapy, if you are discovered to um, have cancer, they will remove they will what do they say, get a lot of eggs, and they will store those eggs for you, and then you have your chemotherapy, and then maybe 10 years later you come back and you say, hey, I met the perfect guy, and we got married, and now I want to have babies from this guy, and I know that I have 40 um these 40 um you know
Embryos.
eggs, so then they take the man's sperm, and they inject all, about 10 of the embryos, and then they implant them back into the woman, and they see, okay, it's like a 50-50 chance that of how many will um turn, actually catch and turn into a actual fetus, and that begins the pregnancy cycle, so then when you start the pregnancy cycle, you have cycle one, then you have, which is cycle one, months 1 through 3, which is the first trimester, then 4 through 6, which is the second trimester, and then 7 through 9 is the last trimester of the pregnancy. But after that is all over, and you decide, okay, we had this baby, I think that I want to be a one-hit wonder, I don't need all of these other 50 eggs that I harvested, because you have to pay for storage every month.
I did not know
Or,
that.
oh yes, yes, yes. They don't just uh harvest and store your eggs for free. And that is the issue. So now these parents, because of the ruling in Alabama, these parents are stuck paying a storage fee for the rest of their life.
Well, technically, I don't think that because egg as much as we, men donate sperm a lot because a lot of times it comes that women want to have kids by themselves, or we have these couples, maybe the man's infertile, so they go through the catalog and they decide they be like, okay, this person did this, and the third. This person did this, and the third. We want to use this person's sperm to do that. But as well as you can donate your sperm, you can donate your eggs. So I feel like it's a point in time because I'm not sure the viability of the eggs once they're frozen or how long they have before that while they're still usable. But you also have the aspect of once they get the once let's say, hey, you go down the road, stuff like this, you stored your eggs and you've had as many kids as you plan on it or you want to have, the rest of them, they have the opportunity to, instead of keep paying the storage fee, they're gonna be like, hey, we want to donate these eggs, whoop de woo, and now they've sold them to this facility to give to somebody else. Because already now, because you donate your eggs, they have your complete medical history on them. So now they know.
Well, but see, that's not how the law reads, though. And nobody has planned, everybody's making laws, but nobody has planned for the backlash and the contingencies of this plan going wrong. Because see, um the creators of this, it seems like the Republicans are creating problems where there were no problems. You know,
Agreed.
you know, and uh, you're creating a problem that was not, and now that the physicians are saying is so ambiguous, and I don't want to lose my license for because there's an ambiguous law there that may or may not affect me as me and my practice. I choose not to do anything at all because I didn't I didn't understand when I first started in those first 2 days after the law was passed. I didn't understand why they couldn't continue on. There was this black family. They had already had one baby through IVF. Then they were about to have, undergo their second, they wanted to have a second child, and they had enough eggs and everything to start um their second uh round and everything. And she was supposed to be doing it on the 4th, actually March the 4th, but they canceled it, you know because they're like, we would rather just not do it at all than.
And I'm gonna say like this: one of the main reasons why they've stopped it is not just because of the fact of like the man getting into the freezer was unfortunate and something that should not have happened. So we're gonna blame him for that. But like it was like it opened the door for, like, let's say like this black couple. Let's say they went into the, or any couple, they go into this IVF facility and go to have the eggs implanted, and let's say the eggs don't catch or something happens and now they're out of their money, they can go, it opens the door for malpractice lawsuit saying, hey, we're going to sue you now. Well, they've already passed and said this was the embryos died, this, that, and the third. So now we're going to punish you. Now we want money. We want to sue you because you did the IVF and it didn't work. So we feel like you did something, even though it would be probably easily to prove because if it didn't happen, it's the clinic's fault. They put it on them, and then it'll be all these frivolous lawsuits start passing, and that's absolutely ridiculous.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, because Ivan said, if those who promote and push chemo read about what happened to Madame Curie, they might want to pause. Radiation. Yeah, well, yes, radiation does have horrible drawbacks, but you know, right now, um that's all we have. In we have medication and we have radiation and things like that. That's all we have in the not the cure of um of cancer, but in putting it into remission a lot of times, um and it has it affects other things when we use it. Radiation affects other things, just like you know our reproductive system. It totally fries it. So I was watching Good Morning America uh when Michael Strahan's daughter, and she's in her early 20s. Here she is, having to go ahead and harvest her eggs right now. But luckily, she's harvesting eggs in California, where they don't have these type of, restrictions and things like that. So 9 times out of 10, she'll be fine. But in a state like Georgia, where my brother and my sister-in-law, they, they went through IVF. I have a lot of friends.
Sandra, I hate to interrupt you, but we're gonna go to a quick.
Commercial break.
We're
We
gonna
gotta
go
pay
to.
some bills.
We're gonna go to a quick commercial break, and y'all, when we come back, we'll see where we're at.
Hi, I'm Katie Brewington and I'm running for Magistrate Court Judge. Magistrate Court is often called the People's Court because people represent themselves or are pro se litigants. Magistrate Court handles civil claims up to $15,000, dispossessory proceedings, pre-warrant applications, and good behavior bonds. I'm a great candidate for judge because I have the experience, compassion, and drive to get the job done. I have been a probation officer, a criminal defense attorney, a solicitor, and a municipal court judge, and I will take all of that experience to get the job done. So remember, vote Katie Brewington, May 21st, for Magistrate.
I'm gonna say before we go into the next topic, I want to say there's a great guy running for sheriff. His name is Richard Coleman. Everybody should look into him because, as we know, our current sheriff, I don't know who he is, and we don't know who, we shouldn't know who he is. But next,
running for Chatham County.
Yeah, he's running for the Chatham County sheriff, and
okay.
I've looked into his background. We're not gonna go into it on this episode, but the qualifications that I've seen so far matches to what we need.
Well, we need to invite him on because the last 2 terms I have voted for John Welcher. I know John Welcher, and so but John Welcher is also 80 some years old, and just like I feel with our current president, it's time for the 80 some year olds to sit down and let new, more, vibrant blood come through.
You're
Y'all,
absolutely right. But that's
you know.
why the next and that's funny that you mentioned that, because the next topic that I want to talk about is this week Mitch McConnell announced that he's finally retiring after this term, after 40 years sitting in the United States Senate and having the control of the GOP. He has announced that he is retiring.
Well, what took so long, Mitch? Mitch. Mitch. What took so long? That's what I want to know. And I was happy to hear that he finally decided, but it's just it just pisses me off that that he influenced so much, especially during the Obama era, where he went on record, maybe it was a hot mic or whatever, but he went on record saying that he was not going to allow Obama to get anything through, and they did the same thing with Obama that they're doing, that the House is doing with Biden right now. They won't, no matter what their position is, they won't let him get a win. And it is detrimental to all Americans, what they're doing just to keep one man from not being able to say, okay, I was able to accomplish this while I was in office.
It's ultimately gonna take, like I said, we learned from the last election, when, because social media has played a huge part in how things have changed. Because in the last election, they kept announcing the red wave, the red wave, the red wave is coming. And when the election results came up, the Democrats still had control of the Senate, and where they thought they was going to have the majority control of the House, it just wound up not being there because so many people went out and voted. And what they failed to realize is social media, especially with the younger generation, is how they're presenting themselves to them to get the younger people to come out and vote. Because before, it used to be like people only voted in the primary elections, which is to elect president, stuff like that. But now people are just going out and voting. They're like, we sick of this. We absolutely sick of this sometimes. But when it comes to Mitch has been in office since the Reagan administration.
Yes.
And right now, I think it's more so the fact, like in the last couple of years, like even when Trump was president, they started like announcing his health issues and noted, they like pointed out little stuff. And like those last two times where he was in those public forums and he forgot he was looking lost, dementia kicking in. We go allegedly dementia kicking in.
Exactly.
But he's just not as strong. He's looking like it's proven that he has weakness. It's the same thing like what's going on in England, King Charles. You cannot have somebody sitting in that power and people like, oh, he's a health scare. We're nervous. It's making them, the Americans who normally vote for him, nervous, because they're like, well, why are we voting for you? We don't even know if you're capable to do the job no more. You may stand up and say that you are, but you're not capable no more.
Yeah, and it almost seems like his handlers are just him up there and saying, okay, Mitch, now you just got to go up there for about 5 minutes. And all I want you to say is, hey, how are you? That's all you got to say. Can you say that? Repeat it back to me, Mitch. And he repeats it about 6 or 7 times, and if you get lost, can you read the prompter? Do you know what a prompter is? So it's becoming very apparent because my mother, she had dementia and then it turned into Alzheimer's. So I know what this looks like. I know the beginning decline, what the beginning decline looks like. And it's just so sad that these people would rather have power than to let these people go out with dignity, you know. And as soon as they know, because Reagan, he had dementia at the end of his term. I don't even think you were born during that time. I don't think that either one of the Bushes, I don't think anything was wrong with either one of the Bushes, but the second Bush, he just wasn't smart at all. So we couldn't tell whether he had something going on with him or not. He just wasn't a smart Bush.
Everybody. I mean, the story was how they say why he did it was because after first Bush went to war and then they tried to do that assassination attempt on him. He went back and he went back as the president and started their war simply to get back at them for what they did to his father.
Mm-hmm.
We all know that we're not going to judge it, which is why they went through so many great lengths in that what was the 2000 election of 2000? Yeah, with him versus Gore. And technically, we all know Al Gore was supposed to win that election.
Yes. It was Florida that stole the whole thing.
And Florida was the reason why, which is why now when the Supreme Court got involved, they say we will never get involved in another election like this because it caused too many issues. Because we all know that one branch stands to balance the other. When you have somebody interfering like this, it's a problem.
Well, but even right now, on to that point, they are interfering in an election because here it is, a question that should not even have to be answered at the Supreme Court level. Does a president have total immunity over everything that they do in office? That should not even be a question that needs to be answered. I don't want to segue into this, but in a way we can. They have decided to pick up that the Donald Trump's case, saying that he should be able to be immune from anything that he does while he's in office.
Federal only. They can't control the states, but they are doing the federal.
Yes. And then we're gonna segue into Fannie after this, y'all, because she could have made it easier for us. But anyway,
it's funny that you say that, because while they are interfering with it, because the whole point is, I don't feel they may be weighing their 2 cents, well, they 1 cent, because that's all we're gonna classify it as. They 1 cent into what's going on with the whole presidential immunity. But because of the backlash right now, and they're trying to keep so much confusion down, I think they're going to say, hey, we're gonna say we're looking at it, but then when it comes down to it, they're gonna say, well, you don't have presidential immunity from this, because we can't set this president moving forward. Because if you set this president moving forward and Donald Trump does not win the presidency, into which he won't, I guarantee you he won't. But when he does not win it, and Joe Biden is still president, and he starts doing crazy stuff, and y'all be like, oh, he has presidential. Well, you said that this one had presidential immunity. This one, and it moves forward to every president has presidential immunity, no matter what they do. You cannot go down that slippery slope. But Mitch McConnell said it himself in his excellent speech when he announced his retirement from the United States Senate. He said Donald Trump is not immune. Donald Trump should have to stand court, because at the end of the day, he is still outside of that office an American citizen, and he should have to be held accountable for everything that he did.
Mm-hmm.
And that's funny, coming from the head GOP man who supported. He even stated that he regretted that he did not like the idea that he helped Trump get into office. He absolutely hates it now because of the backlash that is caused upon the whole GOP.
Yeah, and a lot of them have that regret, but a lot of them are not in the position to say it. A lot of them, will have, what they're doing right now, the GOP is doing right now, will have long-reaching effects, probably about 2 terms to 3 terms down, because they're going to have to weed. First of all, Donald Trump is going to have to a person like him, he's either going to have to go to prison or die out for everybody to get a grip and understand that the Marjorie Taylor Greens and, Johnsons, Michael Johnsons, and all of these people, these extremists, have no business in, sitting in our houses and in Congress, because they are not like the GOP of old that they have their perspectives from a GOP perspective, but they also would work across the line, So when you had the Republicans and the Democrats that would work across the lines, things were getting done. Compromises were being made. In this last administration, they have only passed 37 bills. What have they been doing? And if we look back over years and years, the nominal amount of bills that they usually pass is like 130 something. So you're like, so y'all hadn't been working at all.
They haven't. They can't agree on absolutely nothing. It's this side versus this side. And a lot of time what is happening, like you say, the GOP of old days, they were one. Yeah. And right now they are not one. They have a faction of them, which is not even that many of them. It's just a few of them, enough to not give the GOP their majority that they need to vote on to have complete control, because it's always something simple that they don't like. That's like back in I can't remember what particular month right now, but when it came down to the Speaker of the House, when he went across party lines to get the bill passed,
about 4 months ago,
they impeached him out of the seat because they did not like him, and he said all it took was one. He was like, he would agree to one person. That one person did it. They voted him out.
Mm-hmm. Right. Yep. Matt Gaetz was the one that voted him out.
You're right. And then they censored Matt Gaetz. Then they put all Matt Gaetz' business out there for doing it.
Well, Matt Gaetz' business was already out there, because Matt Gaetz they had already told everybody that he was messing with little girls, and he was cross-dressing and all kind of stuff like that. But stuff like that is not really publicized when it's up against everything else. I mean, and that's what I don't know whether I love this social media era that we're going through, or maybe it's an overkill to a person like me. I have ADD. So when we're able to get our news like 1 minute after it happens, we don't have to wait, until it's published in Savannah News, in the morning. We get our news like right as it's happening, instantly, so before we can get over one piece of news, we got something else going, and that's how so many people like Matt Gaetz and stuff like that, that's how they're able to run under the radar, because they're like, okay, yeah, I'm a cross-dresser and I'm messing with 16-year-olds, but I'm gonna put, I need to put this out there, so they'll be more focused on this than they are focused on that. Let's get something out there about Kanye West, or let's get something out there about, I mean,
I have always stated that though. The fact that when it comes time to like something big that we should really be paying attention to going into the world, all major news outlets go to some celebrity nonsense. It's always some celebrity nonsense going on. Like everybody, like right now, everybody was, who was they focused on before? And I can't think of it. Right now, they focused on Diddy and everything what Diddy got going on. Because it's to distract the world from anything major, that's the major stuff that's going on. And I absolutely hate that.
Yep. Because if they can keep us distracted, they can keep passing things up under the door. You know how you pass notes when you in grade school. You can keep passing notes and passing the real plan, and not get to the nitty gritty of it all. Is it commercial time again? It's commercial time. Got to pay some bills.
We want to talk similar. I'm saying about our last subject for today. Everybody has been following the Risa Tisa story on TikTok and the foolishness that as it was. And it's so much that's going on with that one subject. But the main thing is to talk about is public. I want to talk about an aspect of that is besides listening to what she said, because she got duped. And it's like a lot of people say, he was saying the right things, he was doing the right things, but I'll tell anybody, 6 months, give it 6. It's before you decide to be in a serious relationship with somebody. Give it 6 months. In 6 months, you know, because a lot of stuff will start fanning out and stuff.
So Carlton, before we dip down deep into it, we got to give the people the back story, because everybody is not on TikTok and YouTube the way we are. But I have it pulled up, guys. So Risa Tisa is a lady from Atlanta, and she married this guy, and they were together, I think, for about a year or two. But then she put out this. They started out in just before the pandemic, and now she put out this whole expose on TikTok. And if you go on YouTube, you can get the whole series. So, because she put out a 51-part series of who TF did I marry, and this is just like a segment of it.
Did I marry? So I met my ex-husband around March 4th of 2020. We met on Facebook dating site, and we also matched on Hinge. I did not realize that he was on both under 2 different names. So one was his actual name, and the other one was a variation, like a nickname that he called himself. Different pictures. So it was a running joke between us. Oh, you ain't even recognize that You had matched with me on Hinge. No, I didn't. And also, that should have been a red flag. By the way, you will notice in this story, I called it the United Nations of red flags. It is so many red flags that, I mean, you would have thought it was colorblind because I ignored all of them. So, anyway, back to the story. We met around March 4th. We exchanged phone numbers. He called me and we talked on the phone for the first time. In the first phone call, he told me that he had just moved to Georgia from California, from San Diego. His job had transferred him because he was being transferred in as the new regional manager for a major condiment company that is based here in Georgia. I'm not going to say the name. And so we also talked about his childhood. He told me he grew up in Philly. He's from Philly. Both of his parents were deceased. This is the first phone call. Both of his parents were deceased. His father was a Philadelphia police officer. His mom was a teacher. He also told me he briefly lived in Augusta with his family. He had 2 brothers and 2 sisters. He also had 2 half-brothers on his dad's side. First phone call. So I'm just giving you guys the backstory. This was the first phone call we had. So we talked about.
Now I'm gonna give y'all the backstory to the backstory. Okay, so long story short, they move in together. Just now, y'all heard that she met him March the 4th. You know, through a dating site, 2 dating sites, as a matter of fact. One, he had his real name. Second one, he had a fake name. Okay. Now, before the pandemic, they had their first date before they did the shutdown. Now, everybody knows that the shutdown for most states happened in March. We started shutting things down. Well, he moved in with her at the shutdown. So in the 3rd week that they were knowing each other, they decided that they would move into her townhouse. Okay. Now, next thing she knows, she's pregnant. You know, and then over the months and everything, she's finding out all of the, I mean, he's taking her to, he's telling her that he got offshore accounts and he's this rich and he's this, you know, but he's living, when she met him, he was living in some rundown apartment or
he had a studio apartment.
Okay. Yes. You know, because his job was trying to find him, you know, the math wasn't mathing, you know, but my thoughts because one night I sat up and I watched the whole 51 part series. I did, Carlton. I couldn't turn away. I could not turn away because I was just like, how old are you? I just needed to know how old she was because that would make sense to me to why the questions wasn't being asked. Carlton, what you thought about it?
I mean, I'm going to say it like this. I think I watched the first 3 parts of it and I said, I'm going to wait because I know somebody going to do the synopsis of it. And so luckily, like right after that, after I decided not to watch it, somebody gave a really, really detailed synopsis of all 50 parts of it. And I thought that it was absolutely crazy. But in truth and actuality, they were a quarantine couple. I know so many people who decided, oh, I have to be locked in this house. I don't want to be locked in this house by myself. So me and you, we can quarantine. That means you got company, you got somebody to talk to, this, that, third, do stuff with while you're in the house. You may not be able to go outside like you want to, but you do have people, somebody who is solely in the house with you. But that whole story was absolutely crazy. And if you want to reference to what they actual love life was like. If anybody remember Tyler Perry movie A Fall from Grace, it's just like that. Because once they got married, that's when all the shenanigans started to happen.
Yes.
Because especially once she found out everything what was going on. But to me, it's crazy that you would decide, I don't care during the pandemic, me and my dog quarantined together. It was the best time of my life because we stayed in the house by ourselves. I didn't have to worry about no miserable company. I tell everybody, I got the dog because I wanted company, not because I wanted somebody else. But for you to simply say after 3 weeks, literally, it was like 2-3 weeks after knowing this person, you decided you were going to move them into your space because your space was bigger. And I understand the space part. But the factuality is you didn't know them from a can of paint. You had no proof of anything that was telling because he promised her he had her looking at all these cars. He was showing her emails from where the company was supposed to be messaging him about the realtor. There's a realtor. The realtor was messaging him. So he was very convincible. But I still, in the actuality, I hate to say it, I feel like she was very vulnerable.
Yeah, they looking at $700,000 houses. And I tell my daughters all the time, first of all, you don't look at nothing that you could never pay for by yourself. That's first and foremost. I don't care whether it's a house, a car, a dog, a scooter. You know, you don't let your way of life be dependent on if you have a mate in your life. Right now, I can sustain everything I got going, and whether I get a mate or whether I don't have a mate, I'm going to be able to feed me and my son, and that's first. But second of all, she just kept making mention to the fact that, and he was paying the bills and he was paying my bills. And I'm like, so is this what your safety has boiled down to? And I see that a lot here in Houston, that, people hook up on these Bumble and Plenty of Fish and Black People Meet and all of this. And just after this series came out, who did I marry? This other woman came out here in Houston, The Lies He Told. Now, her conversation, her story didn't sound as convincing to me because it sounded a whole lot like Risa Tisa's. It sounded just like she just wanted people to be clicking on hers, so she just kind of made up something to go along the way. And but she sounded real stupid because her very first date with a man that she didn't know from a can of house paint was at her house with her child at the house. You can't pay me no amount of money to engage anybody at my house. I don't care if it was just me and my dog Nola here, but me and my child, no. That's just too close. I mean, it's just like walking down the street and you meeting a stranger and saying, "Hey, come on back to my house. Let's, come get in my car and come on back to my house." What the hell is up with you people? Have we become that depleted? I mean, are we not teaching stranger danger anymore?
I don't think so, because I know, like I said, I have an avid, even though I would say like this, I do a lot of online dating. Preferably, I prefer to meet people in person, but I have a very busy schedule in the same aspect, so I try and do a mix of both. But I have a whole safety thing of, when I first meet you, you not coming to my house. You cannot come to my house. We can meet in public. We can meet at the park. We can go out to eat. We can do a lot of stuff. But you're not coming to my house within a certain amount of time. Because the one thing, like I tell people, it's the same thing like Reese Teacher. Reese Teacher found out this what his name was not his actual name. People will give you a name that they go by, something that they want you to call them, but they don't. But you don't actually know until you actually dive down into it. Because, like I tell you, the first thing that you should do when you meet people is a social media search to see if what they're telling you is matching. Like, oh, like I tell people, what's your social media so we can go ahead and so I can see what you hitting on. Because I check to see your friend. The first thing I be checking, I'm gonna go through the pictures, and then I'm gonna go through your friends, make sure we ain't got no mutual friends. But people genuinely don't understand the concept of safety no more, and they're so trusting, and it's sad.
Yeah. We had a teacher over in Alief, which is a district about maybe 10 miles from me, and she invited a guy, and within a week he had killed her, and we have to be thinking, women, stop inviting these men to your home. And then women need to stop being so desperate. I get it. Nobody wants to be single. Nobody wants to be single, men nor women. I don't think wants to be single in the fact that I don't have anybody to go out with on Saturdays. But I would rather that than to have somebody in my house that you don't realize that you done let the devil into your house, and after he's unpacked all of his stuff, he done got fire and brimstone falling, all over your place, and you realize, oh, this the devil, I didn't even know. And and with this Reese Tisa, this man is telling her, yeah, I got 2 sisters, I got 4 brothers or whatever. It turned out, my grandmother died during the pandemic, my uncle died during the pandemic. He turned out to be a habitual liar. He turned out to be, and he was just offering up lies that he didn't have to. And you meet those type of people that, I know people that they just lie just to lie.
And it's tragic because the one thing, like I say, is it's okay because you have to have, especially when you meet somebody new, you have to be open to have some level of trusting, but you always go into it with your guard up just in case. Because when it comes, like I tell people, somebody posted on Facebook, and I was looking at one of my Facebook friends, y'all make everything about money when it comes to dating. And at the big grown age that I am now, I have to make it about that because I'm able to sustain myself without you. Why would I allow you to come into my household? Why would I want to come into a situation where I know that I can maintain everything, but if something happens, you can't hold down the fort until I get back to where I was. I can't do that. I'm too old. I have stuff to lose, and I don't want to lose. I don't want to have to go back through that point of a whole rebuilding because I allowed you to come in with the silliness and the foolishness, and now here we are. Because the point being, you probably can go back to whatever you was doing, but now I have to start over and do this whole thing over again, and that's really hard to rebuild. Because Reese Teacher, it's one of those things. He convinced her to get the car that he said that he was going to pay for it, and then it came down he wasn't paying the note on it, and because the car was, I think it was in her name, now she is responsible for a whole nother vehicle.
Exactly. So and that's common sense 101. If somebody can't pay for if their credit score is so low till they can't get what they want, that means that they have not been responsible with their own credit. So what will they do to yours if you put something in your name for them? If they don't care about their own damn credit, they damn sure ain't gonna care about yours. They ain't gonna care about keeping your credit good. I mean, you got to use common sense. And now I'm way older than you, Carlton. And what I look for is not only financial stability, somebody being financially stable, but I look for consistency. I am that person that if your first lie out your mouth is your name, you automatically cut off, because everything else is damn suspect. Because if I've been calling you Carlton for the last 3 weeks, and then you tell me, but my name is really Julius. What? Oh, okay.
Now, on that, the only thing I'm gonna say about that aspect is when I meet, like, because I'm gonna say usually most people I know, everybody I go by my last name, which is Carter. Which if you call me, that's what I want you to call me at first. Now, in the point in time, and it's usually the point in time when I get around somebody else and they call me by my first name, they look at me and say, "Oh, I thought your name was Carson." I was like, "I thought your name was Carter. My last name is Carter. That's what I go by." I say, my first name is Carson. You just never asked me my whole name. And at the point in time, I might not feel like, because I might be in my safety mode, and I don't feel like you need to know my whole name. That's why I say it's always about safety.
But see, to me, Carter, I could take it if it's Carter. But if you giving me a whole nother name, I've had guys that, they go through the thing of pretending like they Kappas, and child, they have done it. I've had to go to, because I know lifelong Kappas, and I've had to, give them pictures. Hey, this guy, and his name is this and this, and they've had to go and tell me, no, Shonda, nope. So if you, and then I just found out, by watching Risa Tisa's series, that you could just go out on Google and get a screenshot of like a Bank of America or Wells Fargo or whatever, because I had a guy that he thought that he was impressing me by showing me his savings account. Supposedly he had over $100,000 in his savings account. And I'm like, Negro, what you eat don't make me shit.
Cursing.
So, you trying to look big. I don't like people like that. I don't like people that's always talking about all of the things that they have, and then when it all boils down, they really don't have anything. And they're really trying to, what they're really looking for is one of these weak women that, is just like, oh my God, he has this and he drives this car, and he said that he's the general manager at Academy, whereas he's only the stock person at Academy, actually.
But people don't look for substance no more. They like the money leads. I don't let money lead, because that's just not where it's at. Money not gonna keep you happy. They might buy you all the shit, but you still won't be happy just because they bought it for you or they doing this for it.
Child, and when after I kept looking at it, I know a lot of women. Y'all women need to stop having unprotected sex with these men after one damn date. because for her to be, you already 6 weeks pregnant in the 7th week that y'all know each other. Y'all don't even know each other. You don't know his full name. You don't know his social security number, and I need to school you. That's not a good look to try to get to know somebody while you're pregnant. You're not doing your children a service when you're trying to get to know your baby daddy, after you've already conceived and everything like that. That is such a bad look, sis. And for y'all to get on here and talk about the lies he told and who did I marry and all that, what you're doing is showing your irresponsibility. Because nothing. I mean, you don't even know this man's medical history. And I mean, who would you let a stranger just walk up and kiss you in the mouth?
And that's the absolute truth. But y'all, Chandra, I thoroughly enjoy our conversations, but our time has come to a close. What's your closing remarks for today?
My closing remarks is, everybody, y'all have a great week, and, do the best you can to do the best you can. Oh, and it's voting time. We vote in Texas on Tuesday, so make sure that you get out there and, cast your vote. Primary time. It's primary time. So
only thing I'm gonna say for everybody is make sure you stay vigilant out here, not just when it comes to relationships, not only voting, but in your everyday life. Stay healthy, drink water, get you some exercise, because I know most of y'all don't. But y'all have a happy Saturday. Be great this week, and we'll see you all again on the Watch Dawgs next Saturday.
I love you, Carlton.
Love you too.